Hey everyone, Mr. Lambert here, coming at you with your mini lesson for today, Monday, September 14th, 2020. We're in cycle 1B and we're dealing with the skill 6.C.2. That's our standard right now. It just says that we can fluently compute with fractions, decimals, and percentages. And today we are going to focus with the multiplication of fractions. Multiplication of fractions by whole numbers today. All right, now this may seem scary to some, but if you think back, we did this last year in 5th grade. So this should be review for most of us. So we're going to start with something a little more difficult. Now I want you to struggle through this, see what you can do. You can work with someone else if you need to, but try working through this as we go through. Don't just watch the video and sit there like a bump on the log. I need you to get a piece of paper out, a pencil, and try this along with us. All right, so let's see what we got here. So here's our story. Now, this is a story problem, so I'm going to use the good old cube method, which means I'm going to circle my numbers, underline my question, box my operative words that tell me what operations to use, and eliminate the rest. We're going to start as I read through the first time. Usually I want you to read through this on your own. If you want to pause and read here in just a second, but I'm going to give you a moment to do that, and then I'm just going to start reading through with the numbers. All right, so hopefully you paused and read through that. So let's read through together, and we're going to circle our numbers as we go. Mr. Lambert is heading out on the backpacking trip. Since keeping weight to a minimum is so important, he is budgeting the weight for each type of item he will need on his 4-day hike. First thing I know I need is that 4. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I need that number. Overall, the target weight for his gear is 40 pounds. There's another number. If the rest of his gear weighs a total of 35.5 pounds, does he still have room for his meals? If he plans to eat 3 meals a day, so there's another number, and each meal weighs 1/4 of a pound. There we go. So here are my numbers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. It's going to be a big equation. All right, so here's what I'm going to start with. Now I need to underline my question. And I think my question is going to be somewhere around this question mark. So the whole sentence says, if the rest of his gear weighs a total of 35.5 pounds, does he still have room for his meals if he plans to eat 3 meals a day and each meal weighs 4.5 pounds? So the real question that they're asking me here is, does Mr. Lambert still have room for his meals? We've got the if, we've got the other part. These are all parts of the thing, but really what I know, it's kind of a yes or no question. Do I have enough room for my meals? All right. The next thing I need to do, since I know my numbers and I know what I need to figure out, I need to be able to box up the things that tell me what operation I'm going to use. So I'm going to start at the beginning again. Mr. Lambert is heading on a backpacking trip. Since keeping weight to a minimum is so important, he is budgeting the weight for each type of item he will need on his 4-day hike. Don't think I have anything there that tells me what operations to use. Overall, the target weight for his gear is 40 pounds. Now, overall gives me a sign that maybe something's going to happen here. And I'm going to box around target weight. And I'll tell you why here in a second. If the rest of his gear weighs a total of 35.5 pounds, does he still have room for his meals? Now, if I have a target, that's a starting number, and rest tells me that I'm going to take something away and find the difference between the two. That means I'm going to be using a little bit of subtraction. Then do I still have room for my meals if I plan to eat 3 meals a day and each meal weighs 1/4 of a pound? Now, if I have things a day, that means I'm doing something repeatedly, and the repeated thing I'm going to do is that each meal weighs 1/4. So if I'm doing something repeatedly, that means I'm going to be using a multiplication. All right, so there's what I've got. I've got my number circled, so I have 4, 40, 35.5, 3, 1/4. I know I have to use subtraction and multiplication. So here's the hard part, ladies and gentlemen. I really want you to do this. Get a piece of paper out and a pencil. I want you to pause the video and see if you can come up with an equation that will figure out whether or not I have enough room for my meals, given the information on the page here. Now remember, you're going to need to use the numbers that are circled, and you're going to need to use, at a minimum, the 2 operations at the top here. You're going to need to use subtraction and multiplication. That's not to say that you may not need to use something else, but we're going to need to use these at a minimum. All right, I want you to see what you can come up with. I want you to pause the video and write your equation out now, and then we'll check it together. All right, hopefully you paused and we're ready to go. Let's see what we've got. Going to erase this real quick so we have a nice clear screen to work with on the next page. All right, so here's what I came up with. I know I've got a target weight of 40 pounds. I'm going to call that W. The rest of my gear, I know I need 35.5 pounds. We'll call that G for gear. The weight of a meal, which we'll call M, is 1/4 of a pound. And then I know I need 3 meals a day, and there are 4 days altogether. So here's the equation I came up with. This may look a little strange, but basically I just used these values instead of the numbers to give myself an idea of what my equation should look like. So basically I'm going to take my target weight, what I want everything all to weigh all together. I'm going to take away what I have already as my gear weight, and that should give me the leftover. I'm going to hope that that's bigger than, greater than, or equal to, that's what this sign means, my weight for my meals times however many meals I need, which will be 3 times the 3 meals times 4 days. And if I take the numbers, the variables out and throw numbers in, I'm going to get something that looks like this. 40 minus 35.5, that'll give me the rest of my weight that I have to work with. We'll hope that's greater than or equal to 1/4 times the quantity, 3 times 4. All right, you guys ready to work this out? Go ahead on your sheet of paper, rewrite this underneath, and I want you to try to work this through. I'm going to pause it here for just a second, and I want you to give this a shot. Go ahead and pause the video, write your equation out, and have an answer ready to check with me here in just a moment. All right, guys, this isn't easy stuff. So let's see how we did. Now, I don't expect you to get it all right, but let's see what parts we understood and what parts we may need to work on. So we're going to start off here. 40 minus 35.5, greater than or equal to 1/4 times the quantity, 3 times 4. The first thing we're going to do, well, I'm going to subtract over here. So 40 minus 35.5, the difference there would be 4.5. Because 4.5 plus 35.5 would give me, well, 4 plus 35 would give me 39, and then a half plus a half is a whole, and 39 plus 1 gives me 40. So there's that. And then over on this side, basically what I've done here is I've multiplied throughout my parentheses. 3 times 4 is 12. Now, what you might not remember from last year is when we multiply a fraction by a whole number, we need to take that whole number and put it over 1, basically making it a fraction. This is saying 1/4 of a something times 12 whole times. So if I had just 12 there by itself, we wouldn't know what to do. But when I multiply, I'm going to multiply straight across since I'm dealing with fractions. And when I do that, I need to have a numerator and a denominator. So this means 12 whole things. That's how we deal with whole numbers. Moving on, I have my 4.5. We'll hope it's greater than or equal to 12 divided by 4. So 1 times 12 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. And if I divide that out, simplify it, 12 divided by 4 is 3. And ladies and gentlemen, is 4.5 greater than or equal to 3? Sure is. I do have enough weight left. I actually would have 1.5 pounds to spare. All right, so here are the things to remember when we're going to multiply with fractions. If we're dealing with a whole number, as you did one of your factors, like we'll be doing today, make the whole number a fraction by placing the integer or the whole number as the numerator with a denominator of 1. For instance, if you are multiplying by 4, you'd make it into 4 over 1, or 4 whole things. Or if you had 15, be 15 over 1, or 15 whole things. Then we're going to multiply straight across, numerator by numerator and denominator by denominator. So if I had, say, 3/4 times 5 over 6, basically I would just do the parentheses there and multiply 3 times 5, which gives me 15, and 4 times 6, which would give me 24. 4. Now today, you're not going to have to deal with anything this hard because one of your denominators is always going to be the number 1, which is easy to deal with. All right. So, super easy, right? Let's give it a try. Let's try it with me one time, and then I'm going to have some guided practice below. So I have 3/8 times 1/2. All I'm going to do, remember, is I don't even need to put my number over 1 because this time I gave you one that was a little bit harder. I have a numerator and a denominator all ready. So I'm just going to multiply my 3 times 1 straight across, and then my 8 times 2 straight across. See if you can do that in your head. All right. Got 3 times 1 and 8 times 2. If you rewrite it out, this is how you would write it. And here we go. I've got 3 times 1, which is 3, and 8 times 2, which is 16. We have the number 3/16. Easy breezy. That's all there is to it today, guys and gals. So, as you're going through, remember today you're going to have it easy because you're going to have a numerator that is always going to be a whole number and a denominator that will always be 1 on the right-hand side of this equation. Remember, you're just putting your whole numbers as your numerator with 1 as the denominator and then multiply straight across. It's as easy as that. Try a couple of the guided questions below, and then you'll have some to try independently for us today. Try your best. Give it your best shot. If you got any questions, make sure you're hitting us up during office hours so we can help you out. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.